Hi Tor, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Fine. I'm excited about Leprous show.
Oh
This
yeah,
will be
cool.
my first show, but I would like
Oh
to
really?
start. Back in 2019, you
hmm
played in Bogotá for first time and the only time. What do you remember about that show?
I actually remember it quite well. Obviously because it was the first time we were ever in Bogota,
Yeah.
which was very cool. I remember when we flew in, it was like so lush and green, and it was like very interesting. And obviously this high altitude, which is very, very interesting. But it went pretty well. I remember very well that we drove into when we showed up at the venue. We had like a van, and then we came to this place with like it looked kind of like a car mechanic place. We
Yeah.
drove in, and then we were at the stage. It was like right next to. We just drove in, and it was standing right next to the stage. And that was a very very cool, a very fun experience. And then I also remember the show very well because it wasn't a very big show, but the people that showed up was so amazing. They were like so energetic, and it was one of the best show, like best energies we've had on a show until that point. So I'm very much looking forward to come back, and hopefully it's going to be the same energy this time.
Like to talk a little bit this Melodies of Atonement. It's a
hmm
great album, but I don't know if you agree with me with this sentence. Melody of Atonement is more heavier than prog. Are you okay with me with that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not that. It's not that important to me to define necessarily, but I definitely feel that it's more heavy than some of our previous albums. And I guess that was also one of the goals of this album to be a bit more like have like more of a band focus, like it's a band playing together more than the very like symphonical and cinematic orchestral elements that we've had on our last three releases, I guess. So now it's a bit more like a band approach. Still, obviously, a lot of electronic elements, but
Yeah.
I feel like we definitely nailed the heaviness. I feel it's kind of funny because there are still some people are like, "Oh no, it's not heavy enough," and it's like, okay, then I'm not sure how to, especially for me because I play the eight-string guitar, which brings a lot of the heavy elements. Uh, but maybe we have different kind of thoughts of what makes a song heavy. I don't know. It could be.
Yeah.
And that's also why I don't really care that much about whether or not people define it as heavy or whatever. I just if it's cool, then it's cool, I guess.
But it's a great album, and so we speak with a big friend. He says something that was an argue with him. He
hmm
says that in Sunken Ship, this song, he feels a little bit death metal indeed.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
And I say, okay, yes, but I don't know. What do you think about it in this
Yeah,
particular song, Sunken Ship?
I think it's very interesting because it starts out being very. I think if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, that was the song. The first thing that I thought about was that it reminded me a bit of like Cypress Hill, like a
yeah,
kind of like this kind of a rap thing, which me and Einar is kind of interesting. In like we've been going, we were like um, we were in school together, and when we were like I guess 13 or something, that's when we started to attend the same class, and then at that time we were mainly into hip hop. So and Cypress Hill was one of our
yeah,
like favorite bands, and I remember very well that I mentioned it to him when because that was his sketch. Like he made a sketch and he sent it to the rest of us, and I was like listening to it. It was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. It kind of reminds me of Cypress Hill, and he said, yeah, that's exactly what I also thought. Like he had that same thought. So I would say it begins kind of like very mellow and
yeah,
calm, and then obviously it just picks up and gets a lot more heavy in the end. And obviously there it's not without it's not kind of accidentally that we ended up on the music video for that song to have like a lot of pyro, like flames and
yeah,
stuff. And also on the we just finished some very big. concerts now, like kind of double concerts that we've done in some of the biggest cities in Europe. And then we've also had like a lot of pyro, and especially on that song, it's been really amazing, to be honest. It's been a very cool, some very cool shows. And yeah, I definitely feel like it's at least very, very heavy. And I don't really, to be honest, I've always been a bit confused about exactly what identifies songs to be like death metal or thrash
Yeah.
metal, or I don't really know for sure what the differences are. But I definitely feel that this song, especially the last part of it,
Yeah.
is definitely taking us towards more of some of the more like heavy kinds of metal. Definitely.
Okay, Thor, Leprous is known for the intense and captivating live shows. How do you approach translating the record studio like Leprous and show it in live?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have a lot of pride in having like a very good live show. And to be honest, not to brag, but I feel like we are quite a good live band, if I'm allowed to say. We play together so much and we play so many shows every year. So we've become a very like, we know each other so well, so we play pretty good together. When it comes to translating the albums to live shows, I mean, when we record albums, we don't necessarily take into consideration that, oh, we need to limit ourselves so we can play it live. We would rather just do the whatever feels optimal when we record, and then we'll figure out later how to do it live. But I would definitely say that on the latest albums, like the last two, three albums, we've done a lot more of the recordings live in studio, which means it's more, I guess, the songs are more playable and kind of they fit very well in being played in the way that they were also recorded. To say it like that, I mean, it's not like impossible stuff that we just played because we're sitting in studio and like perfecting everything, because
Yeah.
it's a lot more kind of organic and sounds a bit more alive, since we recorded them more in like whole takes in the studio. So I feel on the latest albums, it's definitely been easier to adapt them to the live, um, how to play them live.
Yeah.
But there's always like a transition, like when you record them, because then you're so into it, and then you're like obviously in the studio, and you can layer stuff in a bigger way. And then when we're playing live, we want to kind of do it without kind of having too many like backing tracks or stuff. So we want to do as much as possible live, which definitely means that we have to work a lot on like sounds and stuff. So like for instance, I guess on like say Atonement, which was the first single of Melodies of Atonement, I play probably like 3 or 4 layers of guitars on top of each other. Like one of them is a 6 string, and one of them is a 6 string with an octave pedal, and one is the 8 string with an effect, and then the 8 string with like so many different layers to get that kind of the sound we wanted. And then also with a baritone guitar, I think. But then, so when I'm playing it live, because Robin, the other guitar player, he's playing like this lead thing on a slide, so I kind of have to cover all those 4 guitars at once. But then in the end, I actually think I managed quite well to do it with just like effects on the sound, and also playing some painful riffing,
Yeah.
playing like the couple of things at the same time in a way. Um, but that's the nice thing of doing stuff in the studio without taking that into consideration. Because if I
Yeah.
was just thinking about how to comfortably play this, I wouldn't do that. But then doing whatever we felt was sounding the best in studio, and then kind of just forcing myself into figuring out how to make it work live,
Yeah.
I think that's the best way of doing it, probably. And also have to say, for the live show now, we've gotten a very big, like a very good additional live musician now with Harrison, who is our new like keyboard player live, who's doing such an amazing job and making everything so much easier. And since the electronic part of the set is such a big thing, it means that we don't really have to think that much about it when we play. And even though, and also on some parts, I also play like keys on some of the parts, so we don't have to kind of have like layers of tracks and stuff. And that's also he makes my life a lot easier as well by taking care of everything. I can just
Yeah.
go up there when on stage and just play whatever, and he has kind of taken care of all the sounds and everything. So yeah, I feel we've reached a pretty comfortable way of translating things from the studio albums to the live shows.
Finally, what can we
Mhm.
expect with this concert in Bogota for with Leprous?
Well, I mean, hopefully it's gonna be just an amazing evening. I'm convinced that the audience will be awesome as always. And I mean, we could usually even if the audience is a bit quiet and not too loud, we can kind of fake our way through a concert and probably make it be quite okay still. But I would have to say, when we get like the feedback from the audience that I'm pretty sure we will have in
Yeah,
Bogota, it's definitely kind of affecting us as well to give a lot more back. And it just usually my experience is that all the shows we do in Latin America is like usually very like magical when it comes to the vibe and the energy in the venues. Even though if it's a small one or a big one, it's yeah, it's so that's what I'm expecting at least. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be very 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 cool show. And yeah, so hopefully we can bring the energy from that small venue from last time into now the slightly bigger one we're doing now. So yeah, and looking very much forward to it.